You're watching UnrealEntGaming. This is Gohan from Dragon Ball Z. You want to see me turn Super Saiyan? Or should I take it to the next level? I'm also the narrator, too. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, make sure and smash subscribe to UnrealEntGaming.
The final battle on planet Earth involving Moro, Sagambo, 7-3, Gohan, 17, Vegeta, Goku, and the rest of our Z fighters is bound to go down in the history books in being one of the absolute best arcs within the Dragon Ball franchise. However, is this Vegeta's moment? Is this Vegeta's moment to shine more so than Goku in the fact that with Goku on Earth now and Vegeta scheduled to arrive later, is Vegeta really going to be more prepped than anyone else on planet Earth to take someone like Moro on? Or is Toei Animation and Toyotaro going to throw in a monkey wrench in having to change their plans completely in allowing a different outcome to be established, furthering the concept of Moro's final battle on Earth? As once more before we begin, if you guys are new to this channel and have a love and passion for all things Dragon Ball and anime related, then I do encourage you guys to smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to never miss a single upload on this channel, as well as giving this video a big thumbs up by slapping that like button down below if you guys are simply stoked, ready, and excited to see this actually come to head, because this entire arc had been building towards Goku and Vegeta's individualistic growth. We had Vegeta train on planet Yardrat with the Yardranians, and we had Goku training with an angel trainee inside the Room of Spirit and Time. So this entire arc had been leading towards a grand finale, which we haven't gotten into yet, but all the signs right now actually point towards Vegeta out of the bunch in being the sole person to be the one to actually defeat the main villain of the arc, or at least so it's being portrayed that way, with Goku having to arrive on planet Earth first. But the question is, would that be the logical way to go? As joining me here today to further discuss the topic of Vegeta winning or losing is my good friend and Dragon Ball YouTuber Emosh. Now Emosh, me and you have spoke about this off camera. We've done several videos on the actual topic itself, but what I wanted to ask you specifically is, can this arc solely be based off of one character doing things without the other, or do both characters simultaneously rely and need one another in order to get by? And what I mean by that is, does Goku need Vegeta and does Vegeta need Goku in this particular situation with Moro to get ahead in being able to put someone like this down for good, and thus progressing as individualistic warriors in getting the job done?
Okay, so I guess before I even give you my answer, right, my outlook on this, let me ask you something real quick. What are you used to when it comes to Vegeta? Are you used to him taking the W, right? And because the W is really subjective. To me, in my opinion, I think he's been very supplemental in, securing victories for sure for the Z fighters, for Earth, for Goku especially, right? So let me just revert the kind of question back to you in the sense where, what are you used to when it comes to Vegeta?
To be honest, at this point in Dragon Ball Super, I don't think that Goku can get the job done fully by himself without Vegeta being there, and evident examples of this was during the battle against Golden Frieza, during the battle of Universe 6, because Goku needed to see what Vegeta went through with Hit, to study Hit further, to gauge and gain a better understanding as to how Hit operated, and the same thing applies to Goku Black and Zamasu. One couldn't get the job done without the other. They held their own ground against them, and of course the Tournament of Power when they ganged up against Jiren, and the same thing with Broly. So if you were to take Dragon Ball Z's version of Vegeta, I would say that he would be inferior, just because Goku had plot behind him. He had Super Saiyan 3, he surpassed Vegeta so much, but in Dragon Ball Super, I don't think that Goku can get anything done without him. So Vegeta is very pivotal. I think that Vegeta is a person that drives Goku to do better, to accomplish more, and I think that if Goku entered any circumstance by himself without Vegeta in Super, then he would be at a far greater disadvantage, because it's been proven that Goku needs Vegeta in Super, because if you look back on all the arcs, Goku never engaged against anyone without Vegeta being there. So that's essentially my take on Vegeta.
Right, so with that in mind, you have to look at it from that point of view. But to me, in my opinion, I think that's a W anyway, because it kind of creates this scenario to where without Vegeta, this wouldn't have been possible. I mean, obviously, they could just script it however they want. They can just have, I don't know, Chaozu come and, commit suicide and be a kamikaze, and somehow that they defeat the enemy because, I don't know, the smoke was enough to blind him for a split second to create an opening for Goku to like one-shot him or something like that with a Kamehameha at point-blank range, Ultra Instinct mode. I don't know. Like, you see, I just thought about that off the top of my head, but they could easily just script these things that way, and then we're just like, okay, cool. All right, next chapter, give us some more content. To me, I mean, I'm used to Vegeta being the supplemental character, and that doesn't mean that he can't take the W that way, either. Ultimately, I think people are expecting. I'm also expecting for him to just come in through and just dominate Moro. But then again, that's also a boring ending, and this is where we start to have the kind of conversation where things start to potentially get a little too complex for Dragon Ball in and of itself. So at that point, again, I think Vegeta will just come through, really flex and show off, and we're going to be hype. They'll drag it on for X amount of time, and Moro likely will have some kind of countermeasure to counter Vegeta, and the issue is we don't know what Vegeta can do. So at this point, we have to talk about, the techniques that Vegeta is able to create for himself to give him an edge over Moro, and then we have to just assume that Moro will just figure out a way to counter that, if not just outmuscle him. For the most part, we've seen Moro get strong via his magic, via his abilities. We haven't really seen him at his maximum potential, at his maximum capability yet, at max power. We don't even know what that is. I can't even speculate as to what his cap would be, his ceiling would be. So at that, with that in mind, you have to really think, okay, well, if Goku's not the way, and if Vegeta faces against Moro in a stalemate, I think there's a large portion of this fandom that really feels like just as long as Goku is just nowhere near Moro and Vegeta is, they're happy, right? But the question was directed towards me, and that's where I have to respond by saying I'm used to him being a supplemental character, and for me that's a W, because it paints the scenario, like I said before, that this win would not have been possible had Vegeta not come in and shot that Big Bang attack against Cell to create an opening for Gohan, right? In the Tournament of Power, for example, I mean, he was pretty supplemental there. He wasn't one of the final 3 people, but he was definitely supplemental there. You look at the Kid Buu, right? He was the one that thought of the Spirit Bond, for example, even though if you really want to break it down, potentially, maybe Fusion could have just done it, or Ultimate Gohan, but Gohan kind of lacks that drive, right? So, not to get off topic, but you kind of understand where Vegeta's role fits in this. And it kind of brings back the reference that I just made prior to this, where I said they could just script it however they want. They could have scripted it to where Gotenks and Gohan work together to defeat Kid Buu once and for all. They could have just done that to give Goku Super Saiyan V Goku the opening for the Dragon Fist. That could have been a possibility. So obviously the possibilities are limitless. There's really no definite way to say. But I think if Vegeta were to just face off against Moro and there's a stalemate, that's fine. Just as long as Goku is just nowhere near that. And I think that's just how the fandom feels about it. For me personally, I wouldn't care. I just want a good chapter. I want to see a lot of things happening. I want to see what Goku has learned, right? And right now, we only have reason to believe, hey, okay, well, he's probably just learned to tap into UI Omen at most. And he's still trying to tap into, to master that. As to where Vegeta, Spirit Control can potentially give birth to a lot of new abilities. So we want to see what he can do as well. And then we also want to see Moro at full power. It just really comes down to that.
I really think it goes without question that Vegeta is going to do some damage, and in a perfect world, I think we all want to see Vegeta take the victory in this arc, because it's been building up ever since the beginning. But then again, there is that chance that Vegeta could lose, and that's all due to the writing aspect, right? So I wanted to ask you, do you think that at some point we are going to see somewhat of a monkey wrench be thrown in the fight, in the fact that what if Vegeta ends up fighting Moro to a stalemate, so nobody really is winning, but at the same time no one's really losing? So there's a third option inserted that ultimately gives one party the advantage over the other. Or do you think that we are very linear in this battle, in the fact that Goku is going to tap into Ultra Instinct and completely one-shot Moro? Because the fandom is completely torn as to who's going to walk away as the victor in this story. I mean, obviously it's bound to be someone who's on Earth right now, whether that be Vegeta or Goku, the Daikaio, Majin Buu, and it's really interesting to see this, because I think that Vegeta is going to do heavy damage when it comes down to reversing whatever Moro does onto him with his magic, with a counter method of his own, which is going to make Vegeta, if anything, that much more dangerous than Goku, in the fact that he's able to use gigantification, use the ability to replicate and cloning himself multiple times over, just like Paibrara did, and also using instant transmission, but then also studying this secret technique that is possibly going to be a game changer. challenger. It's not going to be the Mfuba, I think, although Roshi being there is a great addition to this story, in the fact that what if Vegeta and Goku end up beating Moro down so bad that it forces Roshi to step in and say, you know what, hold him there, I'll just seal him away using the Mfuba, right? So anything could happen, but in this situation, do you actually see this coming down to one person claiming the victory, or do you think that in some way, shape, or form, we're bound to have at some point a monkey wrench be thrown into this battle?
Yeah, at that point, I'd have to agree with like the second thing that you said, where I could see it with the monkey wrench. I could kind of see that, where they're fighting, he got it, and then just like that, it's gone. And then there's another method that they need to really utilize to kind of, you know, solidify the victory against Moro, and that has to do with potentially sealing his magic away again. Right? I mean, they're still referencing Boo, like Boo's still asleep. I mean, he could just come back in, and I don't know, they could just figure something out. They could wish for his god powers to be restored. They can go find Oob, you know, because if I mean, this idea, and I'm sure we're gonna do a video talking about this as well. You know, if the idea is that, well, the Daikao remembered that since the god powers were, you know, split into the Kid Boo half, into the evil Boo, and since he was killed off, so were his god powers. With Oob being resurrected, theoretically, we could assume that, you know, the god powers kind of reside in him. And Oob has been referenced, you know, a couple times before. Not by name as Oob, but the idea of Kid Boo being resurrected and revived via Goku's request by King Emma, you know, that's mentioned. It's been mentioned quite a few times before. The only issue is that Oob is still fairly young, I'd imagine. So if they wanted to kind of skip or put on hold this whole Goku training Oob kind of thing for now, just to kind of utilize his soul or his chi or whatever, you know, since the god power kind of resides in him, if they wanted to do something like that to where maybe the Daikao can extract that from Oob, just the god power, and then they can just pick up from where they, you know, the whole end of Z kind of thing, maybe they could do that too. They could always script it that way as well. But ultimately, I think if Vegeta just comes in and dominates, that's dependent on how long the fight with Goku is. If that's a long fight and Moro just has the upper hand and Goku's really trying hard, and we're thinking, hey, Moro's kind of damaged, he had a long fight against Goku, but then Moro just absorbs like the chi of like Gohan and Piccolo and everybody, and he's back to normal. You know, then it's like, at that point, it's like, okay, well, we have that Moro who just absorbed some more power, some more chi and life energy, and now he's fighting off against a souped up Vegeta, you know, who can shoot like gamma burst flash levels of attacks from his fingertips. Like, you know, at that point, that's also kind of exciting. And then at that point, if Vegeta ends up dominating from that point, I think that's okay. Would that be what I expect? No, I just think, but it's also possible because it's Dragon Ball. It's pretty linear when it comes to like their power levels and fighting. But this is the first time in a long time that we've seen someone as complicated and as interesting as Moro and as different as Moro, in the sense where the things that he does aren't new to Dragon Ball, but the way he does it is, and he feels unbeatable because of it. So right now, the only thing that we can assume is that Vegeta has a way to just counter or prevent Moro from taking his energy. And if that's the case, then we can assume it's going to be like a, you know, Namek Saga fight between Goku and Frieza. We're going to have that with Vegeta and hopefully. So either way, I think it'll be exciting. I just hope it's not rushed, like Tournament of Power manga rushed, because that would be really unfortunate. I think people are really looking forward to these fights, but we'll see.
To be honest, I think that if we had something similar to Frieza versus Goku on Namek happen on Earth with Vegeta and Moro, that would be insane. I really do think that, in my opinion, Vegeta by the end of this is going to use somewhat of a technique or ability to honestly reverse Moro's magic and reverse his youth, because I think to really put a chink in his armor is to take away his youth. Because ever since Moro was getting souped up more and more after draining people's Genki and taking essence from the planets and from the life forms on it, he's been getting so strong that he just seems unbeatable. Of course, he is beatable, but the question is, how do you beat him if he continuously gets stronger? So I think that with Vegeta's method, it just might be to kind of reverse all of that, to reverse his ability to get younger and stronger and have him go back to when he was old and crusty, and thus leaving him vulnerable for a massive attack that literally kills him. Because I don't see, or I don't think it's smart from a narrative's perspective, to keep someone like Moro around, because as of course he is 10 million years old, he even stated at some point that it was his magic that kept him alive, and even if his vessel were to expire, this dude was still around for 10 million years, so you can't afford to have him roam around or at least still be captive for another 10 million years with the possibility of him being broken out again happen. So I think that what Vegeta might do is use a magic reversing ability to take away what Moro already has and thus leave him open to attack. Now, do you think that this is going to come down to more magical abilities be used or different techniques be used to bring Moro down? Or is this really going to come down to a point where it's all about power, and power and strength are what's going to be used as a key to get by in this fight by actually winning this by the end?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to, if this were a different anime, I would probably say, yeah, like more magic, more different abilities. And I'm not saying that we won't see new abilities from Vegeta. We don't know for sure, but I'm not saying that we won't either. What I mean is that there's this idea of power being something that's really important for Dragon Ball won't ever fade, right? So even though there's this facade, there's this current mindset that says, well, let's focus on a little more technique now and not so much just raw power. That's just not. It might look that way, but that's not what's happening. Vegeta is still getting stronger. It's obvious. Look what he did a few chapters ago. Same thing for Goku. Like, they're still getting exponentially stronger and more powerful. They're just doing it in a better way. They're doing it in a way where we've been asking for quite some time. Because if you think about it, I mean, how long have they been with WHIS for now? And we see very few interactions when it comes to training. When it comes to WHIS training these people, all we see is Beerus and WHIS just hanging out and chilling. And at that point, I mean, the manga kind of showcases more, but it's still not as much as, we should see, or as much as we hoped. Right now, it just seems like Goku and Vegeta are doing their own thing, and they're getting stronger doing that than they did with training with WHIS. Because that's kind of like the whole point behind Battle of the Gods, behind Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, is that had they not met WHIS, they would have never gotten to the level they are today. But now that since there have been so many other beings who aren't training with gods and stuff like that have just come along, and they rival that power, if not surpass it, at that point you have to ask yourself, well, yeah, it was just a matter of time before Goku and Vegeta did it then at that point, right? But at the same time, you got to ask yourself, well, it just comes down to them incorporating new ideas and them having to produce a script that matches it. So ultimately, yeah, it just really comes down to there's no denying that Vegeta is getting stronger. He's not just learning techniques and that's it. No, power is always going to be a thing in Dragon Ball, for sure. And that's never going to fade. But ultimately, I would like to see some flashy tricks here and there, but something that's impactful for sure. The giganticism stuff, I don't see that happening. It's just like a cheap replacement for Ozawa, to be honest, right? Just with more control. And then you have like the whole cloning thing is interesting, but I'd imagine that it's kind of like multiform, where you end up splitting the power amongst the different clones. And if he does it like Naruto in the sense where he just creates like a bunch of shadow clones and stuff like that, maybe to distract Moro, only so that way he could like amass this massive attack. Then that would be really cool, because it kind of creates a scenario where, with Kid Buu again, where Vegeta was distracting Kid Buu, so that way Goku can gather energy for the Spirit Bomb. But this way, Vegeta can just do it by himself, and then ultimately bring all the clones back, and then his power is there. He could just launch the attack. That'd be pretty cool too. But I feel, like I said before, I think the possibilities are endless at this point. We're just gonna have to wait and see.
This arc is so interesting to me because you have so many different elements being incorporated. You have the fact that Moro is keeping 7-3 around because 7-3 has the ability, a similar ability to Moro in draining Genki. You have the idea of Vegeta getting there after Goku's arrival. You have the Daikaio / Majin Buu who's sleeping, and you have to also introduce the element of Gohan, 17, Piccolo, and the rest of the Z fighters be involved in this battle against Moro and his men. There's no doubt about it that I think that once Vegeta gets there, he is ultimately going to arrive onto a battlefield that's basically bloody and barren, because I do believe that one of two circumstances are bound to happen. Either he ends up arriving with Goku having the upper hand on Moro, or Moro having the upper hand on Goku and beating him down completely. So there's no doubt that I think that Vegeta's execution is going to come from a form of a technique, and I believe that this technique or skill is going to take everything that Moro has now and revert him back to an older state of being, to where it leaves him vulnerable for attack by either Goku or Vegeta by the end. So in the end, however, I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below, guys, on Vegeta's possible victory. Do you guys believe that this is the perfect time to have Vegeta win, or do you guys believe that in some way, shape, or form they're going to throw in a monkey wrench and have Goku win. But what if Vegeta and Goku don't win? What if in fact it's someone else? What if in fact it's the Daikaio? Or what if in fact somehow they end up capturing Moro collectively and putting him back into the prison, and the victors of the story are the Z Fighters or the Galactic Police? So I want to get your thoughts and feedback in the comment section below. Again, thank you all so much for your time. If you guys are stoked, ready, and excited for this arc's continuation, then be sure to go on ahead and hit this video up with a big fat like down below by slapping that like button down below. Also guys, hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to never miss a single video on the channel. Check out Emosh's channel. I will leave his channel link located down in the description box below. Thank you all so much for your time. I want to get your feedback. I want to know if you guys believe that Vegeta's time is now, or if they're going to simply shaft him and someone else is going to take the victory against the Eater of Worlds, the Eater of Genki. So again, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for your time. I do appreciate all of your support on the channel. It really means more to me than you guys can possibly imagine. Tune back in for the next video, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Take it easy, guys. Peace. And the quick little reminder before you guys go, if you guys are unaware, I do have a second gaming channel located down in the description box below, so be sure to head on over to Unreal Royale and hit that subscribe button along with turning on all notifications, as to there, you guys will find all different kinds of gaming content that you will not get to find on UnrealEntGaming, titles and video games such as Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, Gears of War, Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, Dragon Ball Z Legends, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, Minecraft, Blair Witch, and many other retro games on that channel. So if you guys are into gaming, then make sure you guys subscribe over on Unreal Royale. I want to thank you all so much for your time, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming.
Also follow UnrealEntGaming on these social media platforms to stay connected at all times. And if you don't, then very soon you will all be dead! Oh, did someone say UnrealEntGaming? Oh my god.
The fuck's up? Put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes, but Jesus Christ, that's huge! What, Broly?
Freezer.
Uh-oh.
Prepare to die!
UnrealEntGaming, but once you get video, lots of likes, or Bill will turn you into chocolate!
Vados, get over here! Tell these mortals that I'm the biggest UnrealEntGaming fan. This is my moment. I'm a part of his notification squad. Universe 7 can have all the fun. I just want the food.
And don't forget to leave a comment on this video. Show some love for the best community on YouTube.
Kakarot!